Group hug. I want to thank a few people that have helped produce this life celebration. Pastor Janie, who was visiting Dad for the last couple of years and being a mentor to me, and Pastor Sam and his church, thank you so much. I want to thank Barbara Royal for organizing the reception, and whose family, she told me, had Mr. Jones as a teacher for 3 generations. Our pianist and close friend, David Shepard, who has accompanied my dad and I for about 25 years and has played on the videos that you see here. I'm so grateful to my partner, Marty Tiber, for the strength and commitment to me for 22 years. Marty called my dad Maestro. Marty built the tribute site on the internet where you can view hundreds of photographs of my dad's life, videos of his performances, and we invite you to post your own memories and pictures. The photograph showing now is a panoramic view from the home where he lived for 50 years and where my brother and I grew up. And it's you can see the San Rafael-Richmond Bridge and the East Bay where he grew up. I think that's why we bought that house. Now I want to introduce my family. These are people beloved by my dad, Byron, and who in turn loved him very much. This will provide a little backstory for the slide presentation that will follow my speech. My brother Byron Will and Mary and Savannah, his daughter, are from Bend, Oregon. And his son, Evan Jones, who I believe, I was sort of expecting him to walk in right now. He's coming from Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio. And he will show up any minute, but I asked him to come in his uniform to represent the armed forces because my father was very proud of being a World War II veteran. My mother, Jacqueline, she and my father were married for 32 years before going separate ways. Mom always loved being surrounded by my dad's music, and as an artist herself, she deeply felt the beauty and the passion of his singing. Dad's older sister, Meyer, has passed. She was his best friend. Dad's younger sister, Gwen Ellen, and her husband, Bob, came from Rockland. Auntie made the vest of the musical notes that you see in this picture. My cousins, Meyer's children, Glennis and Phil, and Glennis's husband, Dennis, drove down from Chico today. Glennis was the first grandchild, and she can remember frequent musical events in the parlor on Emerson Street in Berkeley with grandmother Ada, grandfather Oliver, my dad, and various relatives and friends singing, and I mean really singing, around the baby grand. Gwen Ellen's children, Rick and wife Kate, children Anna and James. Rick had the opportunity to live in England and meet all the Jones relatives. That's where he met Kate and brought her back to Portland, Oregon. Deanne and our newest member of the family, Maria, they live in Antioch. Carrie and husband John, children Blake, who recently was accepted to Cal Poly, where his sister Kendall is attending, and they've come down from Grass Valley. My daughter Hillary and husband William, and the great-grandchildren, Sterling and Scarlett. They live in San Diego. Scarlett has recently started dance classes, and Sterling is taking music lessons. So the beat goes on. My dad's dear friend, Susan Upshaw. Husband Lynn is teaching today at Cal, so he's not able to be here. And their daughter, Jennifer, and husband John, and their daughter Kate. Daughter Lauren and husband Jason, who's working in China. and their children, Maggie, Molly, and Ben. Those children brought my father lots and lots of joy. Lauren probably gets the award today for traveled the farthest. She returned from Shanghai to attend this life celebration. That's how much my dad meant to her. I begin with the Welsh saying that explains it all. To be born Welsh is to be born privileged, not with a silver spoon in your mouth, but music in your blood and poetry in your soul. My grandfather, Oliver Jones, or Dadki in Welsh, left school at 13 and worked down in the coal mines in the Rhondda Valley in Wales. Just like the famous movie, How Green Was My Valley, in the 1920s, he and a few of his brothers immigrated to the United States and found their musical fortune. My Dadki kept a journal called The Voice, in which he discusses his developing voice technique and career, and then in the margins, written sideways, are family events, like, it's a boy. That boy, of course, was my father, Byron. By age 9, Byron was singing in school concerts. In middle school, he took up the cornet. He often scolded me for being impetuous, but before his 18th birthday, Dad signed up for the U.S. Coast Guard and volunteered to ship out on the USS Leonard Wood, a recommissioned World War I troop transporter. Dad saved mementos from his war years like photographs, Japanese money, and a glob of metal. And I asked him, "What is this metal?" He said, "Shrapnel." And I asked, "Well, why did you save it?" And he said, "It didn't hit me." He was very proud to have been on the beach at Leyte, where General MacArthur returned on his famous landing. As a signalman, Dad used his rhythmical training, and one day over the loudspeaker, he heard, "There's a cornet in the library. If anybody wants it, come and get it." Dad immediately ran down to the library. A Coast Guard band was formed, and it was due to the officer who conducted it that Dad and musicians like him were able to get out of dangerous battle duty and tour the States to benefit the War Fund. Dad told me that he was home one day from the war when his father stated, "Go to school or get a job." Fortunately, Dad used his GI Bill to go to San Francisco State and major in music. Among Dad's boxes of memorabilia, I found a memo by the hiring committee of San Rafael High School. They asked him why he chose teaching over pursuing a professional singing career. And he said he believed he could have a professional career, but that he felt he had so much he wanted to give to the young people. 35 years of teaching in public schools from elementary through high school, private teaching, and 40 years of music ministry in this church. In retirement, volunteering to entertain in convalescent homes 14 times a week, and sharing music every day at his retirement home, Byron lived for the glory of music. I came across a review of my dad singing at a concert at San Rafael High School that involved Hugo Rinaldi and his orchestra and Dad's choirs. The journalist wrote of my father, "Here in our midst, teaching vocal music in the public school system with taste, humor, and devotion is a rare entity in human affairs, an artist. Not an artist by Marin standards, but an artist by world standards." Lynn Upshaw wrote a statement that may express all our feelings. Byron was an enormous gift to each of us musically, but he was so much more than even his music, because he made us all more than we thought we could be. He was larger than life because he made each of our lives larger. What a guy. After hearing my father sing in a performance in 1965, my mother wrote this poem. "What gift has God bestowed? This voice of warmth and wonder, a jeweled ring of sound. In our silence we hear the splendor, which carries us to new dimensions of being and dying. Our hearts are bursting with vibrations of brilliance, halting our hushed breathing. When the sound ceases, the air is stilled. Our souls return to now renewed. My brother and I are blessed to be the children of Byron Jones. My brother Byron and I embody the two sides of my father. I'm the sensitive and outgoing musician and music teacher. My brother By is the manly, humble, and sensitive sports fan. He and Dad shared historical facts and sports trivia. Dad took By to all the games: the Giants, 49ers, Raiders, A's, Cal, Stanford, Warriors, and of course the San Rafael High School Bulldog games. My perspective of life with my dad is reflected in a poem by E. E. Cummings. My father moved through days of we, singing each new life out of each tree, and every child was sure that spring danced when she heard my father sing. I have always shared my father's attentions, but I always knew our relationship was special. He was my father, my daddy, my teacher, the inspiration for my life's work, and my singing partner. He was also my protector. No matter what choices I made throughout my life, he loved me unconditionally and just wanted me to live a safe and happy life. In these last several years, he trusted me and allowed me to help take care of him. We enjoyed a mutual respect and pride. I'm so grateful for the many things we shared, that time was so precious. The last time we sang together was this past November as we moved through the halls at Nazareth House. We sang the sevenfold Amen the choirs will sing at the end of this service. 3 days before he died, I went to visit him. He was sleeping, so I kissed his forehead and I softly sang, "Yoo-hoo, Papa." He slowly opened his eyes and I smiled adoringly at him. He said, "You shouldn't be here, sweetheart." And I said, "What?" He faintly repeated, "Sweetheart, sweetheart," and dozed off again. I understood my daddy was trying to protect me, knowing that soon he would not wake up again. A few days ago, I visited Nazareth House, where the residents, sisters, and priests reminisced about my father's giving spirit. Sister Mary told me in her lilting Irish brogue, "I ate breakfast with Byron. One morning, he was quiet, and I noticed his furrowed brow. And I asked him, 'Byron, what are you thinking about?' He replied, 'Music.'